Are you struggling with poor lip blush retention? Are your clients coming back to you with no colour in the lips? I kept running into the same issues too, but after tattooing thousands of lips, I devised a simple 5-step system to get perfectly blushed lips easily that heal beautifully every time. In this video, I'm going to give you tips you won't have heard before and walk you through the step-by-step process of getting perfect colour retention so you can stop stressing over your lips and instead start getting fantastic results. Getting amazing results doesn't just depend on what you do during the application, it starts way before then with your client, and that's step 1.
Step 1 is preparation.
How much colour heals into your lip blush depends on what your client does days before the treatment. If you don't get them to prepare well, then no amount of skill is going to help you. Imagine painting your walls without prepping them first. The paint won't stick, and it's exactly the same with lip blush. You can't implant pigment into dead skin. Any pigment that you put into dead skin will flake off within days. We need a fresh canvas to implant properly into. So clients have to exfoliate and moisturise their skin daily, a good few days before they come to see you. If clients come with dry, chapped lips, then just send them away. It's honestly not worth wasting either of your time. But wait, there's another threat lurking out there ready to trash your lip blush, and its name is herpes. No, not that one. Herpes labilis, the cold sore. This aggressive guy lies dormant in your system until something triggers it. And getting a needle rubbed across your lips 1,000 times is massively triggering. If your client has ever had a cold sore, they will have an outbreak all over the lips after getting lip blush. That could also leave ugly scarring. Now, no amount of exfoliating is going to prevent this disaster. So make sure your clients who've had cold sores get some antivirals from the doctor or pharmacist, so your hard work doesn't get ruined. You've seen pictures of lips with the colour all outside the lines like a Kool-Aid stain, right? How did they mess up so badly? Well, they probably messed up the most important part of the treatment. Getting this step right makes the rest of the process a breeze, so make sure you spend enough time on this because it will give you a clear guide on where to tattoo.
Step 2 is mapping.
To map, you'll need some nylon thread and white makeup pencil, or pre-inked thread. I like Shea Daniels for this. You'll need a super fine gel pen, a good quality flat brush. If you can find one with silicone bristles, it'll stop it getting raggedy quickly. Some concealer, go for something long lasting, or some mapping paste. Plenty of disposable eyeliner applicators and some setting powder. First, dot the highest points of the Cupid's bow and the lowest point between them. I'll use my thread to place a line between them so I can tell it's straight. And that's as much measuring as I'll do. I'll shape the rest by eye. The reason I don't go out of my shape is because I'm reverse mapping, meaning instead of filling in the shape of the lip with colour, I highlight the line and fill in outside it. This technique makes it so much easier to see the outline of your client's lips. You see, lip tissue isn't really skin, it's membrane. It has no pores and no hairs. The concealer and powder really highlights the pores and hairs, so you know where the lip ends and the face starts. That way you'll never make your client look like they've been guzzling Kool-Aid.
We want the crispest shape possible, so we can outline really easily along it with a needle. So this is how to do it. Take your flat brush with some concealer or mapping paste and put the flat edge right up to where the lip tissue and facial skin meet. Check for pores and hairs to make sure you're lining in the right place. Working your way along the lip will start to form an outline. Many artists complain of their mapping moving while they're working. The first way to prevent this is to blend the paste well into the skin for a good bond. The top lip is much harder to map than the bottom, so I'm going to show you how to make this easier. Line up each side of the top lip, keeping the edge of the flat brush against the edges. Blend well as you work, and then move on to the Cupid's bow. The curves of the bow are really hard to work around with a straight brush, but just do your best to shape them. Use the red dots you put on before to guide you where the highest points are, and then blend well into the surrounding skin. It really doesn't matter if you get any paste on the lip. We're going to reshape that in a moment. Okay, so now to put the shape back into the bow. This is so important to get right. Dampen an eyeliner wand and stretch the skin really well. With a lot of pressure, you can now shape the Cupid's bow from inside by cleaning off the paste. Go between the brush and the eyeliner wand, adding paste where you need it and taking it off to sharpen it. Make sure you're really happy with the symmetry. The next step is also where a lot of artists lose the shape. They don't set it enough. Dab the setting powder all over the lips. And again. And once more for good luck. Step 3 is lining.
Okay, it's the tense bit. We're going to line the lips. Stressful? No, because you mapped properly and now you have a perfectly set, crisp line to follow. The only way to mess up this stage is to go too deep or bold. So with a 1RL, follow your outline slowly with a pendulum stroke.
You'll get a beautiful light outline and avoid the awful oversaturated look if you make sure you stretch the skin well and use very light pressure as you work along your mapping. Shuffle along the line slowly and evenly.
Do not etch, it's too deep and it ends up with an outline reminiscent of Pamela Anderson in the 90s. If you're not sure you're implanting, swipe a section away every centimetre to see the line. If it's not there, go over it again. It only needs to be faint.
This is a perfect amount of implantation and will get bolder as the pigment oxidises. Step 4 is the blushing.
We're now up to the actual lip blushing part, but spending time on the prepping, mapping and lining now means we've got a really easy job of it. We have a lovely soft canvas, a great shape and an outline, so we won't go out of the vermilion border. All that's left to do is colour in. If you do this, you won't need to do many passes of the lips, so there's less trauma and better healed results. Most of the time I'll use a 1RL or a 3RL and I'll whip shade towards me. This means I'm making contact with the lip in a line in only one direction. And I'll work in a methodical way, making sure each line is saturated before starting the next.
Look at how I work. This means I don't have to keep going back and forth over the lips, meaning less trauma and more comfortable clients. I go over each line several times to make sure I've implanted, and then the next line starts right next to it.
2 things. So many of you struggle with bleeding and swelling. To avoid these, slow down your work. Pigment is implanted through suction in the channel that your needle creates. If your hand is flying all around at breakneck speed, not much of that pigment is actually going in. You can often tell if your pigment is getting to the right layer if you see tiny bubbles on the lips where you're working. If you do notice your client bleeding, change your needle to a larger configuration, say a 3RL rather than a 1. Also make sure that your needle is at 90 degrees. The lips are curved, so make sure your hand curves with the shape of them to stay at 90. So that's all the steps you need for perfect lip blush results, right? Wrong. That's only half of it.
What, so you're telling me I still have to do 50% more work?
No, you're done. You can go and put your feet up. But there's still a lot that goes into great looking lips.
Step 5 is aftercare.
There are so many ways to mess up pigment retention in the weeks following the treatment. Things like sweating and smoking will trash the results. That's why it's important you tell your clients what they need to do, because 50% of the results depends on good aftercare. Clients need to keep their lips clean and moisturise them with a healing balm. And don't let them slather layers of it on top of each other because you'll seal in bacteria and possibly get an infection. They need to leave any flaking bits alone. If they pick them, they'll take the colour with it. So that's up to your clients to do. So as long as you match your lips right, use good technique during the application, then you're good to go. The thing is, a lot of people don't actually know what good needle movement looks like. And they end up damaging their client's skin, and that can lead to bad results and scarring. So if you want great colour retention, you need to master needle movement. So go and watch this next video where I show you exactly how to do that. Are you struggling with poor lip brush? Great.